Hello, everybody. Yeah, it is Thursday. It's 9 p.m. here in the UK. So that means, of course, it's UK Cowboys time. How are we doing then, cowpokes?
I'm still recovering. Still recovering. In fact, actually, before we actually kind of just went live there, our good friend Steve just had this comment in. Evening, guys. Great job last week. Hope you all caught him to sleep. So, and same with Austin there, and as per usual, Mr. DJ Dog. Thanks again, guys. Guys, thanks again for swinging by in the show, man. We had an absolute blast. We just hope that you guys did.
Hey, and that's really as much fun as we had. That's really, I mean, we was doing it, so people like in the UK Cowboys group had something throughout the entire day to watch and made a bucket load of money for the NHS.
Absolutely. What was the total amount that we raised?
I don't know. Jamie's going to check on it tomorrow morning, because tomorrow morning it gets submitted and then he will put in a thing, and we get a proper plaque as well from them to say thank you.
Like a recertification. That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. He spoke to that. I spoke to Jamie today before he got inebriated, because it is, of course, the Godfather's birthday, so that's why he's not here.
Yeah. So everyone, if you can wish Jamie a wee happy birthday, man, it'd be great. It would mean a lot to him, and that. Even though you probably won't see any messages right now because he's going to get absolutely pissed at his face right now, but still.
I think he already is. He said they're having a curry and a beer, which means there's not going to be much curry and a lot of beer.
That's exactly what I was kind of thinking. You're talking about at least 10 beers and maybe like a bite of curry.
Yeah.
Is the way it usually goes with it.
Yeah.
So make sure you got your phone on silent or put him on block. That's what I usually do.
That's what I've done already.
There we go. Great minds think alike. But guys, yes, it is the post-draft show. So get your quotes and your comments in about what you like, what you dislike. Not just about the Cowboys draft overall. Are there teams that you were surprised with? I was surprised with the Bears. I had an absolute stormer of a draft. That was crazy. But yeah, just get them in and we'll fling them up. If you've got any questions as well, we'll put that up as well. But yeah, first of all, let's start off. I tell you what, let's start off backwards. I'm going to ask you both, what did you both like about this year's NFL draft, just overall, in general?
In general, I'm just glad there was people. I thought, again, fans.
That was good, yeah.
Fans, like, it made a hell of a difference. It actually felt like watching an NFL draft again. Like, there was the build-up, there's the fan interaction.
Yeah.
Loved it. So it was so glad to see that actually come back in. From a Cowboys perspective, first day, really enjoyed it. Second day, later rounds, to be honest, I was struggling from the sleep pattern, so I didn't watch all of it. I just basically got the updates from my phone to see who we drafted. So yeah, but most importantly, I found as though that we addressed the defense easily in this draft.
Yeah, I mean, I'll come to you now, Lorna, just to touch on what you're saying there. That a lot of people are complaining about the draft, and I have a really good way of putting it, that it wasn't good, it wasn't bad, it was a necessary draft. That's the best way to describe it.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I've seen that one of the other sort of podcasts that I listened to, they'd linked to some guy on Twitter who'd actually gone and compiled the grades for all the teams over 18 different media outlets and everything like that. And Cowboys, I think, ranked about 27th out of 32 from that, with grades ranging from A down to a D. So, and it wasn't, what got me was there was about 3 A's, there was an A minus, and then everything else was C's and D's and D pluses and all that.
Yeah.
So, but there was an article also on The Athletic this week that all the general managers were actually polled about which team they thought had one of the best drafts. And the Cowboys actually, within the front offices, came out positive on that. They had a very good draft as far as they're concerned. And I mean, we were never going to be picking players. The pick in Sean Wright at the back end of the third round, nobody was going to pick him up there because very few people are going for 6'4" corners. And all it takes, I mean, you look at who was it? It was the Raiders who took Leatherwood in the first round.
Yeah, what the hell was that?
Everybody.
That is a typical example of the Raiders being the Raiders every single year in the draft. It really is. Like, if that's one thing you can give the Raiders doing, is making obnoxious draft picks every year. They're more famous for that than their actual bloody owner right now. Honestly,
I know, but I mean the thing is, if you got your eyes set on a player, and I mean obviously we had our eyes set on Sean Wright.
Yeah,
you want to take him at a point where nobody's going to even think about picking him up. So yes, you maybe are going to reach in back end of the third round as as Dane said, he's looked at the tape. He didn't dislike the guy, but.
No.
He graded against the other corners in the draft. Yes, he was only going to be 28th or whatever it was in terms of the ranking of the corners. But, again, it's all scheme fit and everything like that. So when you're going to a cover feed that we know that Dan Quinn likes this larger corner that can eat up space when the ball's in the air and get your hands up and you've
long strides,
arm length. That's the
arm
biggest
length.
thing.
Yeah,
that was the biggest thing I've heard a lot, and that was mainly from Skip Bayless. He talked about arm length. You're like, okay, but if there was one thing, like, I don't know about you guys, but if there's one thing I noticed from all the defensive players that we did draft, you could say some of them brilliant, some of them like that. We could have got him in the 5th round, But if there's one characteristic you can really say about every single one of these players, they're nasty. Every single one of them has like a nasty streak on them, and that's definitely something that's going to be changing in our defense as a team. It's definitely, I think it's going to be a big, massive culture change going forward with Dan Quinn coming in now, which I'm happy about. But you'll probably touch on this soon about regards to the latest news, because I'm still because I'm going to be up. There's one thing I'm upset about, but Mike will introduce me into.
Well, before we move,
we'll hit the news in a minute.
Go on. Piggybacking on that, the news that this player's been cut. When Sean Lee retired and he was asked, who's going to lead the defense going forward. This player that we're about to talk about was one of the ones that Sean Lee said was going to be a leader in the locker room.
Yeah.
So but we've not got Garrett guys anymore. We've got guys that are going to, instill a bit of chippiness on the field and hopefully get that aggression going so that we're a lot more aggressive on defense.
Yeah, and like I say, it was a necessary draft. You can say what you want with it, but I mean, the best way as well that you can say it is that I've got it as a C+ draft, right?
I'm the same.
That for me though is the level of it, right? But based on the potential of what some of these guys had, that can go up to an A grade. And you can say that about a lot of drafts. You can say about a lot of, but this one in particular, very much so. They've taken guys with very high ceilings and very low floors.
Yeah, I think what we did in the first round was brilliant. Like, even though we traded down with our arch enemies, the Eagles, but when you really do think about it, we were going to Devontae Smith was going to either go to the Giants or Eagles anyway. So basically, we got an extra pick for free, pretty much, for trading down 2 places because they two were going to battle out.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with that. The fact that we just got something for absolute nothing. But we're going into the second round. Joseph, aka the rapper guy. I can't even remember what his rapper name is, but
Boss Man
Fat. We could have got someone else. I'm trying to remember the other cornerback. What was his name?
We tried to trade up for Campbell from Georgia.
Right,
and then we were going to take Mo Rig, who went 1 pick before.
Yeah, so Raiders screwed us in that one big time. So there was that. The third round, however, and I was talking with like J Tuck, all the guys, all the guys from the Star Gang. I was on their
This
show.
one was a tricky one. This was the third round is trickiest.
Yeah. So basically, and they hashtagged it as Reach City.
Yeah.
Yes, and I can't argue with that at all.
No,
that whole third round was a complete. It's like, why we could have
confusion.
We could have got him in the fourth and the fifth.
Yeah.
You know, but at the same time,
I do have a take on that, on those third round picks. That will help. Sort of, as soon as you say it, you'll go, but we'll get to that in a minute, because we'll go through each individual pick. We'll start with, as we do though with every episode, the news and new and updates. That's correct. And I am not going to change that. That's staying up there right now. So the new and updates of today's show, that is, we'll blame that on exhaustion. There we go. So first of all, Dak has been in the news this week talking about his health. Fully healthy. He said that he's ready to play. He's ready to go in a game right now. Said, if I was to go in a game, I feel like I could be successful. So looking smart, looking good. Big one, though, a cap cuts. They are already in. Jerry is taking it to the house. We knew it was going to happen.
I would say it's more Stephen in this one, to be honest, but
it very much could be. But you just knew that this was coming as soon as it all kicked off. So to start off with, Antoine Woods was cut, nose tackle. That's probably the biggest shocker. Next to Adam Redman, who was cut as well. The other cuts, though, were cornerback Savion Smith, defensive tackle Walt Palmore, defensive end Ladarius Hamilton, which is a bit of a shock as well, and cornerback Kemen Hall. So some of them you kind of expect, you know, especially with some of the corners, with what they've done with this draft, and defensive linemen. But of course, the big one, Antoine Woods. But for me, the reason for Antoine Woods was the amount of production you got out of him for the amount of money. Yeah, just over 2.1 million. He's just put back into the cap by cutting him, because it was only a tender. I wonder with Antoine Woods that there's the cut and all the rest of it and the money, but I just wonder if you remember in the off season he made up a lot of fuss about wanting to sign his tender. I just wonder if that had a bit of a play in it, of them being like, "You're not going to sign it? Well then, all right then." And I think that had a bit of play on them for them going, yeah, let's get rid of him. He's going to be contract trouble.
Especially when you look at who his agent is as well. His agent's in house, so he's the first to get his clients to play up if they want out. As much as I like Antoine Woods, I think he actually posted up after the picks in the third round of Golston and Odigizua. There's a tweet of him that's showing that all incumbent defensive linemen for the Cowboys are looking at this video, and it's a video of a woman doing a yoga stretch about how to get your arms longer and all that. So obviously, I think he knew the writing was on the wall there. As Paul says, everything we heard about this week or this weekend was the reach on this guy is such and such, his wingspan's this, and and yes, it's particularly as a defensive lineman, you want to get your hands up first and get in on the chest of the offensive lineman, or at least get him overpowered so that you can get past them. So and you've now got the job that Woods would have been doing is probably going to be taken on by this Bohanna guy that we picked up in the fifth round, who's a huge space eater, and there's no way could Antoine Woods have got up to a similar size, I don't think.
Yeah. I mean, the whole Antoine Woods release cut, whatever you want to call it, I'm taking that one a wee bit personal, because I've met Antoine. I've got to spend time with him when I was in the Star doing this documentary for the Cowboys, and it's just him off the field. He is one of the most nicest guys you're ever going to meet. the fact that he was so cute, like he wanted to know more about me. Like I knew all about him, but he was like, so you've got football in Scotland, blah blah blah. It's like, and he played up and down the whole league, and it's like, what's the level like? All that type of stuff. He was just so curious, really interested, wanted to know, and this is why like he was such a fan favorite, not just among the UK fans, but within Cowboys Nation. He dedicated a lot of time to the fans, a lot, and people loved him. But when he actually had the proper opportunity, remember when the whole Hot Boys were hot and rolling, Woods was one of the guys that really stood out from everybody. But obviously last season, every defensive lineman had a poor show, really did. Like there was moments, but when you compare it to the previous seasons under the different scheme and stuff like that, he was a lot more effective back then. So, but for me to see him get cut, I'm obviously devastated because, like, the fact I can actually call him as a friend in a way, because we still talk back and forth sometimes on Twitter and through Twitch and stuff like that. So, but I will say this though, wherever he goes, he will get picked up. He easily will get picked up from another team because he's still got so much to offer in the tank. So he has.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. And like Antoine Woods, the person, he isn't bad. You just say like Antoine Woods, the starting defensive tackle. He's like, you got to play him in a limited role. And don't get me wrong, when the Cowboys had him on the field, they were a better defense.
They were.
But they were. But there's just everything else that comes along with it, you know. And it's a shame to see him go, but you can see the reasons why.
No, I totally understand. I totally understand. At the end of the day, it is a business. We're going to lose we're going to lose some of our favorite players. Either they get cut, go somewhere else, or get traded, whatever. And that, I mean, for example, Lauren, one of our original members who founded UK Dallas Cowboys. She will be absolutely devastated with obviously Sean Lee retiring because that was one of our all-time favorite players. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, Antoine was one of those players I had a lot of admiration for.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a tone setter as well, in that, you know, you're getting rid of a guy that was due to make 2.2 million. So it's setting a example that, you know, and I think that's
a good point. Yeah, I
know what accounts. Yeah, at the moment there's 78 players on the roster. That's including the draft picks that we've got. We've signed another 13 UDFAs. If we bring all of those in, we've got to get at least one more cut to get down to the 90-man roster. They're still to determine whether it's a 90-man or an 80-man roster that we're going into camp this year with. So there's going to be more cuts in the next couple of weeks. Particularly as we near the 14th of May, which seems to be the date that the rookies have got to report for all their media and orientation within the OTAs. Yeah.
Yes, but that is our news and updates for now. Talking about the guys who've left. Let's talk about the guys who we got. Let's first of all get to Micah Parsons, the first pick of this year's draft for the Cowboys. Now, believe it or not, in the mock draft, which we were going to do in the 24-hour show, which we never ended up being able to do, I took Micah Parsons with the first pick, took a cornerback in the second. But the thing that was most interesting, and I said this in the show, and you know, you guys won't disagree either, that first of all, you've got first off the bat, you've got a lot of people saying taking corner, and I completely understand the reason why. One of the things I kept saying on the show is, how does a cornerback help you stop the run, which is the biggest thing.
That's
on defense, yeah.
That's it.
And Micah Parsons is a guy who will stop the run.
Absolutely. If you watch his whole highlight film, it's literally him. He sees ball, attacks ball. That's his end game. Like when he's got his eyesight on you, it's very hard to get away from him. So, I mean, I'm over the moon with the pick, to be honest, because like you're replacing where we've got a depleted linebacker core, really depleted. Like, because obviously Sean Lee's just retired, right? Van Der Esch, we ever don't know how many games of a season we'll even get of him because we don't even know if we're going to give him a contract for that matter. We don't know. And there's the question of Jalen Smith. Where does he fit now? Because he's become really hot and cold for like all of last season. Like, don't get me wrong, he was okay the season before that, but last season he was just like there was moments of tackle. Like even though he had he was one of the leading tacklers in the NFL, one of the leading tacklers in the NFL. But when you watch the film, you really do question what were you doing? Were you wasn't paying attention? Just absolutely second guessing things. Was in the right positions? Was like his tracking was completely off pace. It was just like, So for me, us getting Micah Parsons and with the type of attitude he brings to the game, I think that will definitely it's something we really needed. People would argue, Mike, why did we not take a defensive tackle? This is in hindsight, linebackers are used for like, don't get me wrong, the defensive end can only do so, and me and Lauren know this fine well. We can only uphold so much, and when there's a gap, it's up for the linebackers to fill those gaps as well. We can't fill every single gap, especially if you're getting double teamed, especially. It's going to open up more ways. So that's when the linebackers do come into play, and that's one thing we definitely lacked. And it's like we're just failing to recognize the blitz. Well, not recognizing the gap. Sorry, not the blitz.
Yeah. Well, it was like I've said before with linebacker. The good way to say with linebacker is go slow till you know. And so it's shuffling your feet, staying square to the line, and watching the ball and the ball carrier when you're in run defense. What you get with Jalen Smith is you get him. Like, he's just like a raving banshee back there, running side to side. You're like, slow down. You don't need to do all this running. What are you running for? Like, go slow it down.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point you actually just made there, Mike, because when you take Sean Lee, for example, he knew his speed was going against him. He used his intelligence for the game, and this is why he was still at the right position at the right time. Even though Sean Lee was like half the time always injured, but he would still be at the same right place at the right time, and that's the thing. Like, that's the problem. Just not using your head.
Go slow until you know. That's the best way to describe how to play the linebacker position. And the good thing with the Parsons pick is, and I said this as well, he's a Sam linebacker as well, and taking a Sam linebacker at 10 was a bit rich for me. But they trade down. They trade down at 12. I have an issue with the trade. 2 issues with it, in fact. 2 issues with the trade. But they still get an additional pick. I think that was the Chauncey Golston pick they used.
It was.
With the pick they get from the Eagles. So you get some capital back on that. In terms of what I mean with and I said this on the night, with the Parsons pick is you look one trade later with the Giants and look what the Giants got from the Bears.
But Mike, I'll stop you right there. It's quarterback tax. That's the reason why.
No, yeah. And this is the only thing. This was the other side I was worried about, is that when they made the trade with the Eagles at 12, Justin Fields was still on the table. And I looked at it, I was like, they're only getting a 3rd round pick when there's a potential that they could take Fields with this pick and have maybe what could be the best quarterback in the NFC East then. I
think we knew they weren't going to pick a quarterback. I think we knew that.
Yep.
We were hoping so. Because
I think the Eagles backroom staff are very keen to pair up Smith with his former quarterback. So I think, and we kind of saw that with what Jacksonville did with a running back and quarterback in the draft as well this year. So with Lawrence and Etienne. And it only made sense. Like the biggest losers of that whole exchange is obviously the Giants, because they had to trade back down. But it's in hindsight, I think this is the first time under Gettleman's tenure as the Giants GM, him trading down. Am I right?
It might be. I haven't checked. I'll have to check that statistic. Sounds right.
Yeah, because I mean, for what they got, like, because when you really think about it, there would have been a potential of the Raiders. They could have may have went for quarterback potentially. They could have. Who knows? But obviously there was the Patriots, which they ended up with Mac Jones. But for the Bears to jump, was it from 20 to 11?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a lot you need to give up to move up 9 places when there's other teams there that could potentially get that pick. So I understand the value of what they traded, what the Giants got. Whereas us, when you look at the teams, what are their needs? Nah, there's nothing there that they can actually hijack what we want, or there's teams before. Obviously, there's the right receiver, but we could have said we could have got a bit more picks. I agree, but nothing in comparison to the Giants and Bears trade, I don't think.
Yeah, and I mean, I think as well, you've got to look at it this way, as we've already said, that where would you want Devontae Smith going? Stephen quoted on 105.3 this week that the Eagles had been in touch a couple of days before the draft. They were always on the cards for moving up to 10 if Devontae Smith was there, because they wanted Devontae Smith. So they Stephen and all that knew that was who the Eagles were looking for. Would you rather have Devontae Smith on a team that's got Golladay and you've got an okay quarterback in Daniel Jones?
Oh, careful with that word. Careful with that word.
I'm doing it in the loosest sense of the words, but if you compare it to, you've got on the Giants, you've got Golladay, you've got Saquon Barkley, and you would have Devontae Smith as well. Daniel Jones could quite easily come on this year if he's got another weapon there. And, in some respects, he has got a weapon with who they picked up at 20. Or would you rather go to Hurts? And at the moment, the Eagles don't have a lot of it on their roster.
I mean, they've got Jalen. They've got Jalen Rager. What's his name? Is Deshaun Jackson still there?
No, he's gone somewhere else. I'm trying to remember where he went. Did he go to the Rams?
Oh, really? Oh, jeez.
I'd have to check. I might be wrong. I'm probably talking about my ass.
But you're right, though. Like, I think they've only got Jalen Rager, who's also a former first-round draft pick. Then you've got now... But even still, from the offense that they had last year and that they didn't have a lot of success, I think this is still going to be a rebuilding year for Philadelphia.
Yeah,
more than anything. I don't see them coming in a contention at all.
The other thing is, if we'd taken the trade with the Bears, who would we have picked up at 20? You don't know how obviously the way the board went for the rest of the draft obviously was based on what happened with our picks. But if you're dropping back to 20, we were talking all last week that you don't want to drop down unless you know that 5 or 6 of your players on your list are going to be there. So you're dropping 10 places. Yes, there's still 2 quarterbacks to come off the board, but there's a whole lot of uncertainty that you don't know there. You were only picking up a 5th round pick in the 2021 draft. Fair enough, you got extra. The Giants have got a 1st and a 4th next year as well. But we needed players this year to try and make a. You've got to. Yes, Stephen and Jerry aren't going anywhere, unlike Gettleman or whatever. But certainly, I think there would be a hit to the Cowboys if we still screw the pooch this year on the defense and we give up yards and didn't address everything. So, getting a 3rd round this year gives you a player that's going to be, or fingers crossed, should be a major contributor this season.
Yeah, because I mean, look, with Micah Parsons, let's talk about what he is and what he's not. I mean, the guy is 6'3" and 240 pounds, and he run a
4.39.
Faster than that, 4.33.
Sorry, 4.33.
But he's got which is what he is the combination of size and speed. That's his biggest thing, and what is more crazier with it is the balance he has in form of tackling, moving at that speed. Now, I went back and checked On 188 tackle attempts, he had 10 missed tackles. That's insane. And you put that size and speed against a running back trying to protect his quarterback on a blitz. So you put Parsons on a blitz. Him moving at that speed, at that size, with that balance as well. Any running back there is just going to see that churning towards you and go, "Oh shit!"
Yep.
And
Agreed.
that's how he's won.
I think as well, knowing now that obviously Dan Quinn spoke with the media for the first time on Sunday after the draft. We now know that our base defense this year, it isn't going to be the 4-3 anymore.
Yep.
Fair enough, when we're in a nickel, we're going to have a 4-man line, but we need linebackers if you're going to a 3-4 base. And we now have, you've got Parsons, you've got Van Der Esch, you've got Jalen Smith, you've got Keanu Neal, you've got Jabril Cox, the 4th-round pickup as well. That.
To me, that's the biggest steal of the draft, I think, personally.
Yes.
That's easily, hands down. How the fuck, sorry, excuse my language, everybody, but how the hell did Jabril Cox fall to the 4th round in our laps? Surely he must have, I thought, everyone had him as a second round grade. Nah.
Yeah.
And and it was the same way GOK. How the hell did he fall all the way down to where he was?
Medical.
JOK,
he had a last-minute medical issue come in with his heart.
He had a cardiac issue that the doctors have all cleared him and everything like that. But
because it was last minute.
It was almost a sort of Lyle Collins situation where there was that
or Jeremy Tunsil, whether it's not
in a different sense.
Yeah,
it was literally last minute.
Maurice Hurst, the Raiders D tackle that's actually just hit the free agent market in the last month or so. He dropped down to the 7th round. He was meant to be a 1st round.
That's right.
Consideration that year that he came out. So again, it's. This is maybe a problem where obviously we've had a discussion before about the Rams going by GPS markings and everything like that, and game tapes and what have you, and maybe we won't see a combine ever again, sort of thing. But the combine at least gets everybody in one place. It's all your doctors pouring over the results of all the scans and everything like that.
I still think that's fundamentally needed. I really do.
Yep.
For medicals and interviews, but one of the things we've seen is medicals and interviews can be done over Zoom as well.
Yeah.
So, but sticking with Micah Parsons, for me, he was the 9th player on my board, the 1st defensive player. Which is why I took him. So they've done the same thing. They've looked at it because I do think they panicked a bit. The Cowboys. When Horn and Satane come off the board, they went, "Oh shit!" And that's why you've seen them all disappear out the war room.
Well, and when you say it like that, it was kind of like what Jerry said. I think it was in 105.3 the fan as well. It's like. Even though we were we originally were going to go for corner, but we still had Parsons as a number 1 defensive player on our draft board, so they had a fallback regardless. I didn't see them going to trade back down to get another like Greg Newsome, for example, or something like that.
Yeah, I mean they could have taken Slater if needed be, with Sean Slater.
Yeah.
Which is the other side.
I will say I am absolutely gutted that we didn't get a Quinn Meinerz from Whitewater.
Quinn Miners.
I was so gutted we didn't get him. He actually went to the Broncos. They picked before us.
Yeah. I don't know if they would have taken him even then, because at the end of the day, the cat, he's too small school for the Cowboys. You know what the Cowboys like their big schools. That's what they go for.
Saying that, we picked Josh Ball from Slater. So there you go. That kind of defeats that argument.
Well, he was actually from Marshall.
From Marshall.
He'd gone to Slater when he was kicked out of where was it, Florida State.
Yeah. for other things. We won't go into that too much, though. But in terms of Micah Parsons, the big issue for him, which he needs to learn quick, is how to play the cover role. He's got the speed and the agility to do it. He's just got to have the instincts. Because bear in mind, he's an opt-out. So he's, we've seen in the Senior Bowl, which I did write in a blurb.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you.
That that he's got to learn that. We've seen in the Senior Bowl when it comes to instincts of players that they're a little bit not quite sharp. So he's going to have to bring that in, and he's going to have to learn the role. Luckily, we picked a guy, which we'll talk about later on, who's the opposite of that. But let's get into the second pick. Let's have a look. Number 44, which was quarterback Kelvin Joseph from Kentucky. On my board, believe it or not, he was my 138th player. So I didn't even. Reasons for that are all to do with off-field, which is why I dropped him down. Yeah. For you guys, what do you make of Kelvin Joseph? You heard his interview. He sounded very happy, very full of energy. What is it for you? And bear in mind, Mike McCarthy and Dan Quinn both went to Kentucky, and their main reason was to go and watch this guy. You could say that was also the reason why Osa got picked. The pick after is it Osa from Kentucky?
No, it was Bohanna.
Bohanna. Sorry, Bohanna. Yeah, my bad.
Yep.
That he's from Kentucky, so you could say that was the reason he was picked. While he's there, you're seeing this guy, and you're like, ticking boxes. But I'll start with you, Lum. What do you make of this pick? Are you happy with it? Do you think it's a reach? What is it for you?
Going by football talent, I mean, as most of the commentators have said, football talent, this guy was a first-round pick. The big thing is that he's got, we've talked about him being his alter ego is Bossman Fat, and how he's got 4 rap albums out and all that.
6, actually. Six.
Is it 6? Right, okay. He wasn't kicked off LSU for anything that he did on the field or violation of team rules or anything like that.
He choked a coach.
Oh, did he? Right.
Yeah.
Well, I hadn't heard that, but certainly, I mean, LSU, when the Cowboys went calling, and I think Dane had also put in a call, the LSU coaches actually stood up for him and said, yeah, we would have had him back and everything like that. Obviously, there was a lot of attrition with regards to what he was doing off the field, doing this rap career. And yes, I suppose teams have got to be worried this. You saw the Titans' first-round pick last year getting traded to the Dolphins this year for a 6th, and then subsequently he's not even turned up, and Dolphins have parted ways with him. These guys, you've got to really want to play football. Wherever there's a concern that they've got too much happening off the field, how's that going to is it just going to be what they're going to do on their day off? Or is it going to impinge on their weight training during the season? Are they going to be leaving the facility early to go and get recording time in the studio when they should be sitting in team meetings? Are they writing lyrics, all that sort of stuff? So I think that was the concern there. The Cowboys have obviously done their homework. They're happy with the pick. It's as I say, on field, his abilities and everything like that are would have got him a first-round grade. So yeah. I'm quite happy with the pick, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. I don't really care about his off-field stuff as long as it doesn't affect the football on the field. The issues. He got suspended before the Fiesta Bowl for like a physical altercation. I know we've already mentioned it. Obviously, didn't play 2019 because he entered the transfer portal and had to sit out. And then his 2020 season, which is why I had him so low, was just up and down. The issue with Joseph is the same issues that we. He did do something. Honestly, I'm trying to remember. I can't quite remember what he did. Anyway, the issues with him are the same reasons that we were talking about last year with Trayvon Diggs. Is that it's experience and consistency. They're the two things. So, like, obviously, he played that his first year, which was fine. Sat out 2019, and then he didn't really play that many snaps from Kentucky either. So he does have issues with experience. I'm trying to think. Let's have a look. He had in man coverage only 25 snaps in total. He's literally on the field for 25 snaps.
It's not a lot when you really think about it.
No, in man. But, I mean, the good thing about him is that he's willing to come down in the run game. He's a willing tackler. Long, big movement skills. And, we were talking about JC Horn with the mindset. This guy has that.
I'll go back to the one word I was saying earlier about every single draft pick that we made this year. Yeah. And the word is nasty. That's the word. Yeah. Like, he can't, like, Kelvin Joseph he can be a nasty player. Well, he's proven that he can be with his tackling ability. The only thing I'm not so chuffed about is like there was possibly we could have got Asante Samuel Jr.
Yeah,
as well. That would have been a preferred choice if I'm being honest. But after looking more of the film of Kelvin Joseph, I'm actually, you know what, it kind of makes sense. I think that kind of fits more into what Dan Quinn's kind of looking to do. So we'll see. It's just, I think it's one of those ones where we're just going to have to wait and see. And
with this one, yeah,
and eat some humble pie for it all, pretty much.
Yeah. And I mean, when we were talking earlier that this is a C grade that could very much be an A.
Exactly. Yes, I agree.
It's these two picks straight out the gate that can bump that up. If Micah Parsons hits his ceiling and the off-field issues aren't an issue, Kelvin Joseph, he hits his ceiling and he doesn't have the off-field issues, then straight away you've got an A-class draft because of those two picks right there. So that's the way. That's really the way I'm looking at it. It's those two picks. But the next guy, defensive tackle with pick number 75, Osa Odigizua, 78th on my board. I like this guy. The only issue with him is at defensive tackle for his size and height. He's actually the smallest defensive tackle in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like, he was... Sorry, go on, Paul.
I was going to say that because I was asked that question. I was going to bring the comment up. DJ Dodd asked me what I think about Osa. He's got a wrestling background, strong as an ox. I completely agree. I watched the Think Lombardi, the YouTube content, Cowboys content creator, Vac Lombardi. He's done a whole analysis on all our draft picks so far, and I was really curious to know about the Osa one. And when watching more of the video clips of him, there's not one clip of him of actually him getting pushed back. He is constantly pushing forward, pushing the lineman beyond the line of scrimmage every single snap. And that's one thing that was kind of failed to talk about. Do you hear what I was just saying there, Mike?
Go on, hit me again.
So basically, from all the clips I've seen, all the videotapes of Osa, that there's not one clip of him getting pushed back. It's all him pushing the offensive lineman. Even in a double team, he's still pushing him beyond the line of scrimmage. So he is strong as hell, which I really do like. Even though for like what you say, maybe one of the smallest defensive tackles and that, but strength attributes is second to none. Like
I will find you a picture.
And again, nasty.
Yeah, I'll find you the picture, right? And it's absolutely hilarious. That I can't remember the team. Yeah, Mike he was a wrestler in high school.
Learn how to grab it.
There's a picture of UCLA, which, by the way, I've decided is now your university, Paul. UCLA, the Bruins. That's your college. You haven't picked one, and you couldn't decide. I picked for you, and there is a reason for that. There's a reason for that.
I don't want a California team.
It's got, yeah, but it's got to be.
No, it hasn't.
Yeah,
it has to be a team.
Do you know why? Do you know why? Do you know why it's UCLA?
Because that's
where. No, because it's where MJD comes from.
Morris Joy. Fuck it off.
Yeah. Because remember what happened the last time we spoke to MJD?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's not relive that.
I know that I have that video still. I will post it up one day for a laugh. Yeah, it's there. I've saved it.
And in case the viewers who don't know who we're talking about Morris Jones-Drew, the former Jacksonville Jags running back. Somehow, some way, me and Mike were on national television, along with some of
Channel
the other Channel 5, along with Valente, who was on the show as well, and a few others from the Cowboys, UK Dallas
Cameron.
Yep. So there's quite a few of us, and for some reason, I don't know why I volunteer. I really don't. Is to actually be on and get interviewed about the game, and this was probably without a doubt one of the worst games we played. I can't even. What game was it?
Mm-hmm.
What game was it?
Cardinals.
Oh God, yeah, that one. Yeah.
So when you were on, they gave up the long run for the final touchdown as well.
Yeah.
So
the 90-yard touchdown run.
Yeah, because Morris Jones is like, Paul, don't watch the television. I'm like, oh God.
It was funny. Yeah. But talking of runs, there is a brilliant photo, and I will find it. I will dig it out. It's going to be on the internet somewhere with Odigizua. I can't forget. I can't remember which team it was that they were playing, which is the struggle.
That's a great point from DG Dog. Yeah. Everyone said that about Aaron Donald.
Osa was they were playing some team, and their offensive line is that they're playing against is up against their own line, and there's this brilliant photo, and the UCLA line, D line, is just getting pushed back by the offensive line. But over in the corner, there's 3 offensive linemen just getting absolutely mauled. And the guy pushing him back, Osa Odigizua, 3 guys. And these 3 guys are in their own end zone. And he's the one single piece that's pushed these 3 up. And the rest of the line and the fullback are doing all the rest of the work, pushing. They're just absolutely shredding that D-line apart from this one guy. And he's the shortest guy there.
See, this is an example you were trying to say. This could be from a C grade to an A grade guy easily. Yeah. This could easily be initially when we did draft him, I thought that's a bit of a reach. I said, no, we could have got him in the 4th. You know what I mean? Same goes with all the other guys. Same with all the other guys, and we got in the 3rd. But looking back at the footage and how it's been broken down properly since we drafted him, it's like, you know what? It makes sense. I get the pick. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I get the logic behind all the draft picks that we did, but still, I'm just kind of like, we still could have got him at a later round. You know?
Yeah. But to go back, go on. I'll let you finish.
But I was just going to finish off that point. It's like what you were just saying. Is what I said initially was, you don't ever see Osa taking a step back. He's always moving forward. No. And that's exactly what you want from a defensive tackle. Exactly what you want. Constantly going forward, putting pressure on the quarterback, forcing the defensive lineman to close the pocket.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you want. I'm good.
And he was dominant at the Senior Bowl as well. I mean, he actually got the best defensive lineman award for the national team. And he went in to that room, and I think Golston had the same sort of experience as well, where he went into that room, and there was a hell of a lot of defensive ends. There was a lot of defensive ends there. He was initially brought into the team to try and showcase his skills as defensive end, or maybe even a
lot of talent technique there.
Yeah. So he went to the coaches and said, look, put me inside and I'll show you what I can do inside as well. So, you know, both of these guys, Golston and Osi at Odigizua, they've both got the sort of flexibility that they can be a sort of Tyron Crawford role model.
Yeah.
That's sort of what we've lost. We've just replaced.
And the big one as well. If you want to stick to his wrestling, I just went and checked that he was 3-time state champion, and in 4 years he never lost a game.
That's insane. Why is he not doing MMA? That's what I want to know.
So that's just that. I don't know. He is on the short side. He is a little short, but just to give you an idea, that in 2020, he played 7 games. In those 7 games, he got 5 sacks, 7 quarterback hits, and 14 quarterback hurries.
So for 7 games,
he's getting back there. He's getting into it all. Run defense, he wasn't used that much.
See, for 7 games, that is actually quite a nice statistic to have. Really nice.
7 games, yeah.
Yep. You're nearly averaging 1 sack per game. Really, nearly.
You're averaging 1 sack, 1 quarterback hit, and 2 quarterback hurries a game.
Yeah, like I'd take that. I'd take that's probably more than most people do in a whole season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No pun intended. No pun intended, guys.
No. Let's move on to the next guy then, and we'll move on to the most confusing one. But Chauncey Golston, I know some people were screaming for him to be drafted. Now, he was taken 84th. On my board, he was the 148th player. I find this a bit confusing, along with a Nation Wright pick as well. What do you guys make of Chauncey Golston?
Right, I do like the pick, but again, it goes back to my point. It's like we could have got him like even the 5th round. We could have, like, it's a big reach for my liking, but
totally agree.
But I do like what I see. Like, he is like, if you were to put a comparison with him, he does have that element of Randy Gregory about him in terms of the aggressive side of him, which I do like. So, and again, arm length goes back to that again. So
is the big one.
That's the big one. Yeah. I mean,
like, the thing is what he.
On you go, mate.
Go on.
No, on you go, mate.
I was going to say the good thing with. Sorry, I was going to say that with Chauncey Golston, the good thing with him is he is good at cleaning up, which is one thing the Cowboys needed. We need somebody who can clean up on that defensive line. The only issue with him is his pass rush, is that as soon as somebody gets his hands on him, his pass rush just completely flattens out. It goes. There's no power or momentum there. Yeah. Which is weird because he's got the reach, the size, and the freight. When you look at it, and you're like, there's just no explains. It's lethargic. There you go. That's a good way to describe it. It's lazy on his pass rush.
Well, I'd say it'd be more down to balance. In a way, like, you can have all the strength and speed in the world, but in terms of actually having the balance to control your speed and strength when being engaged in a block, that's where it becomes a bit more complicated, I think. So I don't know about you, Lauren, but I think balance may be the right word to kind of associate that.
Yeah. And I mean, these sort of things, he's been doing what he's been trained in college to do. You know, now that he's in the pros, I'm sure DeMarcus Lawrence will take him under his wing, take him down to trench warfare training ground that he gets trained at. You know, same with it. Offensive linemen, they're training with that big Duke. You know, so you start hiring other professionals that will teach you tricks and make you work on different aspects of the game, which will help you at the pro level. So I don't, you know, again, it's where the floor is maybe a little bit low. But, you know, the ceiling's there that, you know, it could be, as we're saying, this is a C grade draft, but, you know, it could quite easily be.
Again, it's one of those ones. Maybe I'm not necessarily put Goldson as a C to an A, maybe like a B perhaps, but I don't see him being like that more of an impact player in comparison to like Osa could be.
Yep, and I mean again, it's a player. It's a player I considered in the 4th round when I was doing my mock drafts.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's, you know, if this is a player that you like, you think you can work with him in the scheme, you draft him no matter where you. Fair enough, we would have been stupid if we drafted them in the 1st round. But if it's a player you really love, then you pick him where you think you're definitely going to have him. If you're leaving it another round, maybe he's gone by the time. So you've got to pick the guys that you want when you feel that you're getting the best value out of them. And everybody's opinion, you know, everybody's opinion about these guys is different. We've seen that with the draft grades. You know, it's what the coaches think, what the scouts think, and where was the best value to get him at.
Yeah. And reaching. Go on.
Just to be quick point, just not to mention as well, we're not the only team that's actually made reaches in the draft as well. There was other teams that there'll be no doubt in our mind that there's been, like, for example, the Raiders, for example.
New Orleans with Patrick Turner. I mean, I had him as a 4th rounder on my board.
You want to talk about confusing reaches? What about the Rams taking Tutu Atwell with their first pick?
Yeah.
He's not even going to get on the field.
No.
But go on.
The Rams had quite a few, or, you know, they didn't have a lot of draft picks this year. You know, they really needed to hit on all of the draft picks as best they could. So, you know, taking a punt on a guy like that is a real head scratcher,
especially when you need O-line. But talking of reaches, let's talk about the entire reach of the draft. Nahshon Wright. Now, I don't know if anyone's seen, because a lot of people are asking questions. I wrote a blurb on Nahshon Wright.
Can I just say this?
Sorry.
I have not seen one bit of footage on Nahshon Wright. So that just comes to show my knowledge about it.
Did you watch the last series of Last Chance U?
Yeah, he's on there.
He was on there as a cameo because his brother was playing at Laney College that year. He'd played the year before, and there was a bit of footage about.
I knew the name sounded familiar, but I was just like, but I just haven't seen any. I was like, surely if it was a guy I would have like watched some game film, surely he would have popped up. But I was like, who? What? Because because me and Jay talk and all the guys from Stargame were like, scratching our heads, like, what?
Yeah, if you go, I'll try and find the link because I wrote a blurb on it because a lot of people are asking questions. So I did a bit of a write up. I'll try and find it for you guys now, and then I'll post it up on here. But the thing you can say, like, he was taken 99th on my board. He was the 298th player on my board. So he was on there, but it's confusing. The only thing I will say is if you look at the comparables with everything that's in comparison to what he does, he's very much Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman taken in the 5th round. Quinn's looking at it going, you know, this is my type guy. Long arms, 34 and a half inch arms. He's 6'4". He's basically, by wingspan and arm length, he had the biggest reach of any cornerback. So then you go, okay, Elijah Molden was taking the pick after, and he's 5'8".
Yep.
So you look at or 5'9", I think Molden was. So you look at the difference in what they had there, and you can see the reasons why. I think he's going to be more of a guy they use more in the red zone, just to drape over a wide receiver that's going to, you know, so if the quarterback's looking down, you're just going to see this huge guy just draped over your receiver and go, yeah, I'm not going to try and throw a dime in on that one. That's going the wrong way otherwise.
Try and get him to cover Kyle Pitts when we play Atlanta this year.
Yeah, you know, it's a pretty wild one. I'm trying to find the little write-up I did on.
I'm just glad we don't have to talk about him anymore.
No, we will. We will be doing that. Don't you worry. I'll find a way to squeeze it in.
But it won't be a ton of it. It won't be it won't be actually for the Cowboys. It'll be against the Cowboys.
Yeah, which is the issue. But let's flip the switch on this, right? Because I'll post it up in the comments for people to look at in a moment. Let's talk about the steal of day 3, Jabril Cox.
Yes.
Oh yes.
So he was taken 48th by the Cowboys. No way, I got that wrong.
No,
He was taken 115th by the Cowboys, but he was 48th on my board. So he's a top 50 player on my board. Really distance traveled. You're talking about a guy who's won 2 championships with NDSU in the FCS, goes to LSU, becomes like the star defensive player in LSU in a bad LSU team. He was literally the standout. I'll let you guys talk about him. I mean, this is like, for me, he's the yin to Micah Parsons' yang.
Yeah.
On you go, Lauren. You go first, mate.
That does seem to be the comment, that if you took all the strengths of Jabril Cox and all the strengths of Micah Parsons, combined them into one player, you'd have a superstar linebacker for the rest of his career and everything like that. So yes, he will do the coverage. He will do the things that Micah Parsons can't do. Particularly coverage. He's quite good down the field covering players. I mean, I think the draft show were joking that one of the highlight clips that they'd seen was him trying to cover a wide receiver running down the field in a cover 3 defense, and he was actually okay. He was a step behind by the time he recognised that he needed to be dropping into pass defense, but he was actually matching them stride for stride. So, I don't think the play was completed. So, the strengths are there. I think between the two, we're kind of set for defense for the linebacker. We've got what we need. We've got one guy who can go downhill. We've got one guy that can do the coverage.
Yeah, and that is what he is. Yeah. But I like the pick altogether. If they had taken, if they had turned around and they took Rashawn Slater with pick number 10, and then they took Jabril Cox, then in the second round, I would have been. I'd be like, yeah, okay,
yeah.
But the fact that he goes into the beginning of day 3, and then you take him.
I'm honestly, I freaking love the pick. I absolutely love it. I know Dave Hellman does. We all know that. Dave, know Dave loves it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like you said, it's not really much for me else to really add on top of that. Like he was one of the big standouts for LSU, especially in the championship games, especially leading to the undefeated season. Now that helped Joe Burrow became the number 1 overall pick. I know all that. It's not the offense defense difference, but still, Cox was one of the stars of that defense, hands down. And the fact that we got him in the 4th round, and everyone had him evaluated as a 2nd round. Some people, even some analysts, even had him as a late 1st round at one point as well. Yeah,
and you can see the reasons why.
And the best thing about it as well is that we didn't have to give up any capital. There was talk that we tried to trade up to get him at the top of the round, but we didn't. We let the draft board come to us, and he was there, which is brilliant because we were able to pick up more players. And when we were doing the hot takes a couple of weeks back, I'd said I don't think we were going to spend all 10 picks this draft. I thought we were going to trade around, move up and move down. Well, we did move down. We picked up another pick, and we picked 11 players this year. So that was, and we talked about we tried to move up in the 2nd round to pick up Tyson Campbell. There was a bit of anybody who watched our 24-hour draft show when we were going through the 1st round, there was a bit where Jamie said, "Oh, wait a minute, we've made a trade," and then realised that he'd been looking at Twitter. Well, on the second day of the draft show, Brian Broadus comes on and goes, "Oh, I've just had a text. We moved up in the 2nd round 30 seconds later, oh, sorry, we backed out of the trade because obviously Jacksonville had basically picked our pick with the first pick of the second round. We were moving up to the third pick of the second round.
So, yeah, I mean, they started off day 3 with a blast for me. Like, day 3 was brilliant. Then they go and take offensive tackle, their first offensive player of the draft. So the first time in Cowboys history, they take 6 picks on the defense in a row. For me, this is the worst pick of the draft.
Yeah, easily, hands down.
Yeah. The guy, talent-wise, he could probably be a starter, offensive tackle. I listened to his interview as well afterwards when he got drafted. Wasn't inspiring. But let's move on to Simi Foko.
Well, what I think, I mean,
go on.
Again, the talent is higher than where we picked him. The off-field issues are a concern, and he was trying to gloss over it. I'm sure there's a lot that we don't know and we will never know. From what I found out, he was never actually charged by the police at all.
Yes,
it was all
correct.
He was suspended by the board, which is it's a student body board. It's not the governors or anything like that. When he went away, did a year at junior community college, came back. They were going to take him back on, and then he thought, no, I better distance myself completely from this situation. Moved to
Marshall.
Where was it? He was Marshall. Moved to there, and he's got a girlfriend there who is a dentist or is training to be a dentist there. He's maybe got his life on. He signed with the girl that's raised the complaints. He signed, both of them signed this injunction. So there's maybe things he can't talk about openly on the air. So, where he's been criticised about not saying, no, yeah, I've done this, I've done that, holding his hands up and everything like that. He's maybe restricted by what he can and can't say.
I know what you're saying.
I mean, at that point, I'm just like, as if we need any more background drama that could influence other players to put an opinion on them. Like I'm more concerned about Josh Ball, the player. I'm more about the other players reacting to him as a person. If you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like see, for example, me and Lauren, right? We're playing together. We're both on the offensive line. Like we're both Zach Martin and Travis Frederick, for example. And then comes Josh Ball, right? And it's like, and we heard all this stuff about him. We were like, nah, mate, piss off. Like, Like that would be me. Like I would maybe try and like get some insight about him. Yeah, but at the same time, deep down, I'm like, and that's the one.
The trust.
It's the trust. Yeah, it's the trust.
Yeah.
You maybe have all the talent in the world. Like for example, Antonio Brown, all the talent in the world, but off the field, he's a loose fucking cannon. Like you know what I mean? So it's a massive risky pick. I really I like. Don't get me wrong. There could have been like, and I'm gonna keep saying this. Like, I still felt as though guard was a much more higher need than tackle.
Yeah.
Like, and you're gonna criticize me. I still think we should have fucking went for Quinn Miners from Whitewater. that was my guy.
We love talking about him all off season. He's been the guy we all love talking about. I mean, like this again. This Josh Ball pick is exactly going back to the narrative that we started with. That this is a C-type draft that could go to an A. That if this guy's off-field issues aren't that bad, the talent is there where he could be a starting tackle for the Cowboys. That if Tyron Smith has issues, and he does, because bear in mind, it's 17 games he's got to last for now. He has the guy has the talent to do it. It's just the rest, everything else, the narrative off the field. I'm sure we're going to hear plenty about it because it's the Cowboys too. But let's talk about the.
Like I said, Mike, it's not so much about Josh Ball I'm worried about. It's more so on the others. It's the other of it part, offensive line. It's his quarterback. Yeah. It's like, do we really? Does he want Josh Ball to be in the park? Like it's like players react differently to what we might be thinking. That's my end point of view, and I don't think many people have actually kind of touched based on that point. It's like, yeah, it's a bad pick, but what do you think the other players feel about it?
Exactly.
I'm
with you.
It is a team game. And end of the day, it's like this one individual might make a difference personally, but it might have an overall negative effect on everyone else. Like, for example, Earl Thomas, amazing player, but he could bring down the whole dressing room. You know what I mean? Yeah,
totally. I'm with you. I think me and you have the same feelings on it, but I mean, that's about as much airtime as we really need to give that for now until we get some more. And we can look into him a bit deeper with what's coming up. Simi Foko, wide receiver, taken 179th by the Cowboys. He was actually 121st on my board.
I love it. I freaking love it. I love the pick.
A high attitude guy. You know, you talk about Josh Paul with, like, he could have an attitude problem, possibly, with the off-field issues. This guy, Simi Foko, complete opposite.
Complete bipolar. It's like
blue collar.
Did you watch his draft video, like, of him getting drafted and stuff like that?
And he's a Cowboys fan, and he's got him draped in a Cowboys jersey when he's like 4 years old, and it's down to his knees. Yeah. He's got the massive helmet on. He loves it. This guy, and like, you listen to his interview as well. The guy's ecstatic. He cannot believe he's at the Cowboys. Like, he's buzzing.
He is going to be the type of player, he's going to play with his heart 100% every snap. He's going to play like he's going to do whatever it takes to get on this team. He knows fine well he's not going to be one of the top 3 wide receivers, but he'll work his damn hardest to even make that squad. He will.
Yeah.
And he's got that attitude.
Great vertical tree, mind.
The same way with Antoine Woods, that we've got a $2 million contract on Cedric Wilson. We've got just under $1 million on Noah Brown. Noah Brown's the only one with any guaranteed money, and that's only $137,000, which is basically Jerry can find that in his down the back of his sofa. This isn't something that this guy has a real chance of making it onto the team.
I think he will.
These guys have got to learn it, and they've got to actually pick.
Do you know?
That's a great point.
He very well could be. He could be. Do you know what he reminds me of when I've watched his tape on him? And what a way to compare this guy. But if you do it, you'll see it. Even the colours. Larry Fitzgerald. Oof. Tall. He's 6'4", 220 pounds. He's got the high arcing long route tree. But I mean, like, the guy, if you look at his measurables in his size, he ranks in like the 90th percentile in like height, weight, hand size. His hands are like 10.5 inches, which is like 95th percentile. Huge hands. And a lot of people talk about the production issues with him, but he was playing in Stanford, who've got like a really weird playing style. And like to spread it around.
It's a great school, like, especially for offenses, where McCaffrey was from as well. Like,
it's their style of play. Their style, and like, so like, people will say, oh, he had like 62 career catches, but he plays downfield. He plays the 9 route more than anything. That's not Stanford's style of game. It's the short screen passes, dump offs. That's more their style. A lot of bunch formations. So, like, you could say that he did have some drops, which is why he's this far down. So I think, like, I'm trying to remember. I think it's like 7 or 8 dropped passes on the season, and he only had something like 60 targets. So
it could be the Michael Gallup 2.0. It could be.
Michael Gallup slightly better. He's more physical as well.
But what I'm saying is, like,
in roll
and clutch moments.
Yeah. In roll, yeah. But he's definitely. I think he's got the chance of all these guys. Like in day 3. No, Cox has the best chance of having a starting role, but
absolutely, hands down.
Simi Foko was right behind him as being like a a fourth wide receiver, or say Gallup, God forbid, goes down, or Amari Cooper has his foot issues again, and you've got to jiggle the wide receivers around, instantly Simi's going to be the guy. That's how I see it. But I don't know what you guys want to add anything more onto that, or do you want to move on to our next guy?
Yeah, move on.
This guy puts a smile on everyone's face as soon as you say it. Quinton Bahana, defensive tackle from Kentucky. I like what Rich, he put a good post up. There was one of a space heater, and then it was Bahana next to him, space eater. Go on then, Lon. You hit me with it first. What do you like about obviously the new defensive tackle from Kentucky, Bahana?
Well, we've been talking for years and years and years, and I mean Nick Heatman's been championing it almost as long as that. That we needed a big trash can full of dirt, dumpster fire, whatever you want to call it. You needed a one technique. Yeah, you needed a one technique that was going to take up that space, take on the double team, maybe even is that sort of size. That then frees everybody else up to do the job, especially now, again, we're talking about potentially being a 3-4 team in base. So, again, you need somebody as a nose tackle to be over the centre and probably getting taken on by the two guards as well.
I mean, here's his measurables. He's 6'4" and he weighs 357 pounds. That's freaking huge.
He's a behemoth. He's a behemoth.
He's got a quick first step, and he gets his hands up in the chest of the offensive lineman as well. And as soon
his hands are huge.
He gets his hands on you. You're moving backwards. There's only one way about it. So
again,
you were just saying about. Go on, Paul. Go on.
It goes back to the one word I've been saying all night. Nasty. There we go.
Yeah, but you we go again, right? You were talking about measurables. You want to talk about the height and the weight. 90th percentile, right? That's how high he is. But it doesn't just finish there. His wingspan is nearly 81 inches, which is like 75th percentile.
Basically, that 81 inches is basically, if you were to compare that to someone in other sports, that is the same arm span as John Jones, the former UFC lightweight champion.
Yeah.
And he's the same height, 6'4", and we all know how lanky he can be, but the fact that he is 357 pounds of that.
Yeah, and his arm length is nearly 35 inches. What the hell do you do with arm length that long? His knuckles are going to be on the floor. And then just to finish with that, his hand size is just shy of 11 inches. It's bigger than Nate Newton's, and Nate Newton literally put my entire skull in his hand. So, like,
I've met him. I've met him.
Yeah, he's big, a big guy, and like this is Tyler Shelvin, and a lot of people are saying, why don't we go and get a guy like Tyler Shelvin? Because you've got him. That's what he is. And if he hits his ceiling, which I think he can, given the right coaching, there is a massive difference maker on the defense right there, right now.
Yeah.
Like like you say, his first step, Lon, is jaw dropping. You watch it and you just go, "Oh wow!" And the power in his upper body, unbelievable. The only thing you can say is he plays too upright, but I think that's because of his size.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of expected. I mean, when you're 6'4" playing defensive tackle, you are a bit low center of gravity against offensive linemen. You're bound to kind of maybe get a wee bit too upright, So I think it's, but the fact that he's got the strength and ability to actually still counteract that. So I mean, I'm happy, but I'm still like, I'm amazed we got him in the 6th round. If I'm being honest, I thought he would have been a 5th rounder. So
and he was a pet cat of Broadus's. He was a pet cat of Broadus's in the lead up to the draft. If you again with Broadus. All these people that were sending in the mock draft to him and everything like that. Anytime Bohanna was picked, he was like, "Yes, brilliant! I'm really happy about that." So
Dogs just made a great comment. If you're going to run on us, it's not going to be on Bohanna's gap. That's a fact. That's a fact.
And like, if you just look at all the defensive players, especially on the defensive line, when you look back, so you look at the 3 defensive linemen they took. When you look at it on face value, you go, okay. But then, like you were saying, Lon, when you step back then and you go, hold on a minute now, they're going to be moving to a 3-4. You look at it and you go, oh, then it makes more sense. All of a sudden, the Lego blocks click in and you go, now that makes more sense to me. Because these are guys, a defensive tackle who's a little lighter, so you can push him out on early downs. You got this Quinton Bahana, there's your perfect nose tackle that you can stick in the middle who's going to eat up space, take on double blocks, take on 2 men at the same time, if not more. And Osa, who is just, he's going to put power on you. He's going to try and take up the... Suddenly then you go, oh, wow, yeah, that's making more sense to me now. You know, you got Golston, who's really the wild card for me. And I know we've got the other 2 guys. The other 2 guys to me are more outsiders. I think of the 11 picks, I got 9 making the roster. The 2 aren't Israel Mukama and Matt Fornike. Those 2 are the joker cards for me, where I'm not sure if they're going to make it or not. I like Mukama. I
loved his wee video that he released of him getting drafted as well. Like you could tell he's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder for sure. So like he wants to come in, play ball, try and make the team, all for that. But I think it's a fair statement to say it might be quite tough for him to make the squad. But
really hard.
But we'll see though, because who knows? Like we just don't know with our corner situation.
The issue I've got with Israel, just because we'll finish up on these 2, and then we'll finish up on the show with the Mukama. The issue I've got with him is that in the last 2 seasons, him on his own, he allowed 6 touchdowns. And nearly 700 yards. And I said it before that if you want to look at a defensive player, if you want to look at a defensive,
absolutely spot on.
You want to look at defensive back, and you want to look at any stat on a defense back. Look at quarterback or pass rating allowed. So 50, 60 QBR rating, good. Israel Mukama, he's over 100, nearly 120. Quarterback rating allowed. That's the issue you've got. And players were just throwing on him. They were targeting him and they were allowing the passes. He's got traits that you like, but I wonder how much of a struggle it's going to get for him to get in there. And the same with Matt as well. They're my 2 wildcards. I've got 9 making it. Those 2 I'm not so sure on. Let us know what you think at home, guys. Who you think will make it.
I think he's more been picked up because the fact that he's played safety some.
There was that, yeah.
You know, I think they've drawn a line under Reggie Robinson playing safety after last year.
Yeah.
So I think if he's going to be, he's got the flexibility. He can play corner. Again, he's another 6'4" guy, and that quarterbacks are going to have to pinpoint their passes to get anywhere near the receivers when if he's running stride for stride, they're going to have to be pinpoint throws. So there is that. But again, if he's able to step in and play safety, again, that's maybe, again, it's the sort of blueprint of the Legion of Boom, where again, you've got guys that are over 6 foot. You've also got, for every defensive coordinator that's come in, they've always said that Jordan Lewis is too small and everything like that. Jordan Lewis has then made them change their opinions about him. So again, we've got a hell of a lot of competition for these 2 positions, cornerback and safety. So we didn't address safety outright in the draft, but we've got guys that can come in. You've got the guys that we brought in who know Quinn's system. They can teach it down as well. They're only there for a year, so we've not got any invested capital.
Yeah.
Yes, I would have loved them to have picked a safety in the draft, but
don't we all?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They were going to, but it got pinched from them. And that doesn't make any sense to me. Why they took Mo Rig? They took 3 safeties in the draft when they already had 3 safeties on their roster, and since they drafted them, and then they draft 3 safeties in the draft, and then they're like, oh shit, we got too many safeties. Cut Jeff Heath, and you're like, okay, yeah, that's a real good plan. Terrible.
Here's the question for you guys.
And now we've got to listen to Brian every day going.
I
know. After we've had him on the show as well, like, you know, you could have timed it better, could you?
I know.
Yeah, we actually had to go on our show, on our 24-hour show for the draft, and that got his insights with that. And God, like, if it was me, like, just even give like Jeff a short-term contract just to come back, like Phil.
I don't think he'll come back.
No.
He
won't get another team though. There will be another team in for him for sure.
Oh yeah, at the end of the day, he's defensive player. He was a defensive player of the week last year, you know. So that's no short supply. But yes, let's get, guys, your final takes then. Because this is officially the last 2021 UK Dallas Cowboys TV draft show. That's it. They're all done. No more. So give me your take. What do you think? So what do you make of like all the shows we've done, the 24-hour show and the draft itself?
I liked everything besides talking about Kyle Pitts.
Go on, Lorne, aka the senior. How did you find it?
I've really enjoyed this, and I mean, I joined on middle of this draft cycle, so I'm looking forward to being a bit more up to speed next year with what you guys are looking for within the draft shows. But
don't forget, you've got the pre-game shows and the post-game shows as well.
Oh yeah.
This is where the fun starts.
Yes,
that's my element. That's my ailment right there.
But I mean, last week with that 24-hour show, I think I said when we were doing when we were in the delirious phase at 6:30, quarter past 7.
That was quite fun.
When we were sort of talking about what the highlights were last week, I mean, all the people that were on the screen last week, whether it be Neil Reynolds, Jeff Reinbold not going into a meeting, that he's meant to be coaching people.
I know, the guy even come up to him and they were like, "Are you coming?" He was just like, and he just looked up at him and went, "Yeah, just 1 minute."
Yeah,
he fobbed him off.
But and yes, we had Drew Pearson, and Drew Pearson gave us his, he actually preempted what he was going to do when he stood on the word for word as well. I mean, and then you had Stephen Jones, and obviously 5 minutes after Stephen Jones, we were still like, well, how do we follow this? But I think having Mickey and Brad and Brian on, Derek and Mickey at the same time, and then the best one for me, I think, is when we had Heckma Harrison on.
Oh man,
you had Barry Pennigan,
sorted.
And then you had Jeff Heath as well. And Heckma was like a kid in the candy
store. Exactly.
These are guys that he could potentially walk down the street and see, and we're 3,000 miles away, and we're like, God, he's on the screen. These guys are on the screen, and we're 3,000 miles away. This guy's potentially could bump into him walking down the street, and he's still like a kid in the candy shop.
Man. I'd say he was one of the like best new guests we've ever had.
I've been speaking to him. I've been speaking to him off air, and he's ready to come back on.
Yes, we need to get him back on. I loved his energy, man. Loved it.
Yep. Well, all I'm saying is, on a Friday I do like the Fun Time Friday videos. Make sure you watch tomorrow's.
So Robert, Jeff Heath was a great, and that is all down to our sponsor. That is all down to our sponsor.
Yep.
Yeah, and you look. Everybody's mentioning all of this. You're forgetting the big thing. Stephen Jones was on the show.
I know.
Oh yeah.
The vice president of the executive vice president of the Dallas Cowboys came on our show.
Yeah, and spoke.
And we asked him questions that were on our minds. Obviously, we couldn't obviously ask him any draft-related questions because that's just like that was what
they were the rules.
They were the rules. But we had a nice, fun conversation with him. And
the good thing is like you get these people on the show, and like it's good for people like the UK Cowboys members because they get to post these questions in that you become an entry point for them, and that's what I like more than anything. And it was a lot of fun. The 24 hour, like you say, the delirium at the end was a bit wild when we started talking about all the things that have happened with each other in the past. That was a lot of fun.
I actually likened the last 45 minutes to an episode of Beavis and Butthead because I think that you and I were just basically my ribs were hurting. I know yours were.
Oh, yeah. My wife come down, and I was in pain. I was tears streaming down my face from laughing so much. She thought I'd hurt myself or something. She was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, I'm still in the middle of it. I was like, "Ooh." She thought I was like I'd done something, like I'd hurt myself. But I think the big take for me this year was just everybody's involvement. All the people on the show, not just during the show but off, and everybody who got involved with the comments and the charity. That was the big one. Yeah, nobody ever faltered.
Also, don't forget, we can't forget Shannon as well. He gave us like an inside
scoop.
He gave us the inside scoop of the actual draft party, the layout of it with inside the star, all that type of stuff. So big shout out to Shannon, my boy. He's my boy.
Yeah, the birthday boy Kyle Humans as well. He shares godfather as well. So happy birthday!
You can't forget. There was just so many to talk about, but like even at the end, we had Jay Tuck and Skywalker Steele on, brilliant, both on at the same time, and Steele tried to have him on loads of times, and he keeps wanting us to go over with him on his show, but because of the time differences and the shift patterns that we're all working, we're always out of sync. Yeah. So 24 hour show, and he was just like, and he said to me, he's like, how are we going to do it? I was like, I've literally got all day. You come on when you want. But it was good because we got to finally speak to him.
Having Bluff City Cowboy on at the beginning of the show as well. I mean,
and Brandon as well, but big shout out to Marcus.
And he was on as well during the influx, because we had Cammy Griffin on at the same time with him. So he was just loving all of that. I'm trying to remember. But anyway, the big one for me was just everybody's involvement. Because, like, at the end of the day, you're taking the time at home to log in, join us, send us your comments, watch us, invite us into your homes, listen to us babble. And I think that's the big one. Just everybody who got sending in comments. Like, even now, like, I'm looking, and there's, 70 people have chatted away to us here and all the rest of it. And even the live show last week, 11,000 people joined us. Like, you can't argue with that. Like, the involvement of everybody is the biggest thing. And the messages away from it.
I found out yesterday that my boss had actually tuned in for a bit as well, and tuned in. He'd also tuned in at 7:00 on the Friday as well to see if we were still going as well. So
wow, that's nuts.
That's a boss checking up on you. But that is it now. No more draft season. No more UK Cowboys TV Draft Edition. Don't worry, it doesn't mean that the show stops. We are back next Thursday at the usual time, 9 p.m. But we are into the off-season program doing the positional breakdown series. Now, last year, this was my favorite bit. I like doing the draft because, you know me, I watched the college and all of that, and I absolutely love it. But looking at the roster and breaking it down, this is the fun bit. You remember, Paul, last year, we had a blast with this.
We had a lot of fun with that last year.
Oh, yeah. And it's like, it's predicting the roster. And all of this now, over the next 10 weeks, we take a position like we will next week. The quarterbacks, we look at them, break the contracts down, break scouting reports down, the depth chart down, really breaking it down and looking into it in depth. And of course, that does mean as well that we will need your help, because you guys probably know more than us. Forget a lot as well when we're babbling away.
Yeah, that's a great point as well.
Yep.
We completely forgot about that. Thank you for that, Andrew.
And there will be the fixture, so we can talk about that as well.
Well, that'll be good for me, because I need to know after. I think there's news coming out regards to international travel after May 17th.
Gotta have our jobs, mate. Gotta have our jobs.
Yeah, you're gonna have our jobs. If that's the case,
I've got mine next week. So
I'm counting the days. I need if I'm able to fly out, just given the go ahead. I want my jobs as soon as possible so I can actually get to the home opener. So I'm letting know what the home opener game is, because I am booked for a whole month in Texas in September, and I'm going to get absolutely out my face when I'm over there.
I like this one too. Jamie making up trades was fantastic.
Oh God! Me and J-Tuck were losing our bloody mind with that.
I know, but we'll pay the bills, guys, and I'll let you sign off on the show. So as we just said, fixtures are coming out next week. People are having their vaccinations, which is good news as well. So if you're going in the UK to a game, or even if it's in the States and you're going to a game this year, book it from Cowboys Experience. They've got game day tickets, stadium tours, and tailgate parties you won't want to miss. And of course, if you go to them, send us your photos while you're there. They go all over our social media and everywhere else. And of course, if you're going to book it, use the booking code UK Cowboys. Because what happens then?
You get free stuff. And
just for saying the name.
And just to add on top of that, if it wasn't for our sponsor, we wouldn't have had, for the likes of Kenny the Shark Gant on the show, we wouldn't have had Jeff Heath on the show, and
Drew Pearson.
And Drew Pearson. Exactly, the Hall of Famer. He took time, hours before he was to go, the day
There was supposed to be more. There was supposed to be more players.
Yeah,
but they are doing other things.
Yeah, so which we knew there was going to be some cancellations in the road, because
Jane Slater did. Jane Slater cancelled.
Yeah, we were supposed to have Jane Slater, but she will come back at some point. But yeah,
yes,
but
she is.
Like I said though, Cowboys Experience. If it's not for them, we'd be having some of these amazing guests on our show. So go and check them out, guys. Book with them, get free stuff, and have an amazing time when you're over there. You'll see some Cowboys football.
Yeah. But guys, right, let's shut it down. This is emotional.
Not for me, isn't it?
This is it now. The draft season officially over. We're into the positional breakdown series next week, where we get in down and dirty, as I said. So from myself, from Mr. Buckfast, and from the senior, that is your official nickname. That is your official nickname.
No, Mr. Bucky.
No, all right, Mr. Bucky. Mr. Bucky it is. It's been UK Cowboys TV. We'll see you next week. Sign us off then, guys.
Catch you later, guys.
Yep. Have a good one.